Before watching the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel and enable bell notification to never miss an update from us.
Hello everyone and morning all of you. This is Ashima and in this video we'll be talking about daily current affairs or daily news events. Now, what are the discussion points going to be there? We are going to talk about the news events in detail so that it helps all the aspirants, that is any student preparing for any examination which has a current affairs section, they are going to be benefited from it, which includes SSC examinations, banking examinations, UPSC examinations, whichever you are preparing for. Because we'll be talking about the news events more of it. And for those who want to practice the questions also, or want to take the quiz also, for them we have everyday quiz which happens free on Entry app. So all you have to do is download the app from Google Play Store and take everyday quiz after the registration process. And the benefit is that if you do it now, you get 7 days free trial on all the paid courses as well. Right? So that is how you can be benefited from that as well. Now, those who want live quiz as well on YouTube, for them we have it at every Saturday. We have a weekend quiz, a weekly current affairs recap sort of thing. That is in a quiz format which can help you in taking up the, or you can say revising all the current affairs for the matter, of the whole week for the matter. Right, so now we'll be beginning with discussion of our news events. So we'll be beginning with the first news event, that is International Migration 2020 highlights. Now this is a report which was prepared by United Nations recently, and what did this report signify? What did this report have? Now this International Migration 2020 highlights report signified about about the diaspora of all the countries, that is every country's citizens are spread in all the other countries. So at what proportion and what number are they spread in other countries? That was here in the International Migration 2020 highlights. Right, so according to the report, the largest diaspora is of India. So largest diaspora of India is there in the world, and that being as of 2020 there were 18 million people of India living outside India. 18 million people who were Indians living outside of India. Now, other countries which have large numbers being Mexico, China, Russia, Syria, and if we talk about the host countries for that matter, now among the host countries, if we say United States was the largest destination. So the biggest diaspora is of India, whereas the largest destination is United States. Right, now the reasons stated for Indians to have such a huge area of diaspora is because of the labor reasons and family reasons majorly. Now if we talk about the host countries, there are 51 million migrants in United States. 51 million migrants are currently in United States as of now. Right now, which is about, you can say, of the total population of United States, that constitutes about 18% of the total population. Then after US we have Germany, which is the second largest host, then being Saudi Arabia, then Russia, and then UK. These are top 5 host countries in terms of migration. Right, now moving ahead, Saksham Awareness Campaign was recently launched, and it was launched by Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. So what is this whole awareness campaign about? This is basically to spread awareness about green energy, that is promotion of energy sources which are eco-friendly or environment friendly for the matter. Right, now this campaign is a 1 month long campaign that is going to be run by Petroleum Conservation Research Association. So PCRA is going to run this campaign for a month, and it was launched by the ministry. Now what are the sources that are going to be promoted out of the fossil fuels one? That is biofuels. Then we have using of clean fossils comparatively, electric vehicles to reduce the carbon mobility, and all such areas of fuels are going to be promoted. Now, is India already working on it? So we all know that E20 was recently introduced. That is 20% ethanol mixing is going to be there, which is comparatively more cleaner form of petroleum than the one which we have as of now, which is E10. Then apart from that, there are other clean energy schemes in India also running, like National Wind Solar Hybrid Policy, National Wind Solar Hybrid Policy. Now, there are certain policies that are being run by government. One is National Wind Solar Hybrid Policy, and it is for promoting the connection of wind and solar plants together, or interconnecting both of them, so that a combined operation can be run. Right. Then we have offshore wind energy policy. Offshore wind energy policy. So we have offshore wind energy policy, which was in 2015 introduced, and it is for development of offshore wind energy in the Indian exclusive economic zone. Now, talking about exclusive economic zone, we have done a discussion on that in a few days back time. So you people might remember when we were talking about the Ebola vaccine. That was the time when we had talked about exclusive economic zone as well, right? Now, apart from that, we have PM Kusum. PM Kusum was also launched, and this was also for interconnecting the energy source power plants, grid connected agriculture pumps, solar water pumps, and the purpose was that 10,000 megawatt of decentralized grid renewable energy power plants should be set up. That was the purpose of PM Kusum, or Kisan Urja Saksham Evam Utthan Yojana, right, or mission, which we can say. Alright, then moving ahead, we have Jallikattu event of Tamil Nadu. Now, this is a 2000-year-old competitive sport, and as we know, elections are soon coming up. So, recently, political parties are, catching up attention on that, and the Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, he recently attended a Jallikattu event of Tamil Nadu. Now, Jallikattu event, as I told you, is a 2000-year-old event, and that was against it. Certain hearings are still pending in the Supreme Court, right? There are certain decisions still pending, but they promote this, or they want this culture to survive, because it is considered as a traditional way of preserving the pure breed native bulls for the peasant community, as of now we all know that there are hybrid or artificial processes being used. So saving themselves from artificial processes is what Jallikattu is important for. The native cattle breeds that are used in Jallikattu, there are Pullikulam, Kangayam, Ambalchari, Malai, and Bargur. These are the popular native cattle which are used in Jallikattu event. Now, as we were talking that there are certain cases going on. So in 2014, Supreme Court had banned Jallikattu event. Then recently, state government legalized it again. That is, Tamil Nadu government legalized it. Then in 2018, again the case went to the constitutional bench, for which it is still pending. Right, so in 2014 it started, in 2011 basically it started, then in 2014 Supreme Court, then Tamil Nadu legalized it, and then 2018 again the case is currently pending, right? Now, in other states is it also celebrated? Yes, there is one other state where it is celebrated. In Karnataka, Jallikattu is celebrated as Kambala sport. Right, it is similar to Jallikattu. So over here also, Karnataka has also passed a special law to preserve it, just like Tamil Nadu had legalized Jallikattu. Right, now others in other states, being it Punjab or Andhra or Maharashtra, over here these are banned. This sport is banned over there. Then Office for International Affairs and Education Institutes. Now this office is going to be created now in all the higher institutes, and this regulation has been given by UGC, University Grants Commission. So what has UGC said? That there has to be an Office for International Education Institutions, and this is a compulsion that has been made for now. Right? And what will this office be responsible for? This office will be looking the academic, the research collaborations with all the foreign institutions. Right? So you can see it's as a mediator. It is going to act as a mediator between the Indian institutions and Indian students and the foreign students. Right? And all the admission process regarding all the foreign students, because we have certain quota for foreign students as well. So for foreign students, the quota and all, and what is the admission process, all of that will also be managed via this office only. Right? Now, who can have this, or what exactly is running over here? So recently UGC had amended its regulations that institutions of eminence will be can set up campuses abroad as well. So there are going to be certain institutions which will be recognized as institutions of eminence, and these institutions can set up their foreign campuses as well, or abroad campuses as well. They will have to get a no objection certificate. Who will give the no objection certificate? So no objection certificate will be given from Ministry of Home Affairs. If they give the no objection certificate, Ministry of External Affairs gives the no objections certificate, and UGC categorizes it as institution of eminence, then it can happen, or they can set up abroad campuses. Now, as of now, there are 18 institutions of eminence, right? And UGC has nominated recently 20 institutions for being categorized into institutions of eminence. Now, how are the nominations done? They are done on the recommendations of empowered expert committee. And who is the head of this committee? Expert committee is led by N. Gopalaswamy. So N. Gopalaswamy runs, or you can say heads, this committee where the nominations are proposed. Now, for any institution to come into institution of eminence, it either has to be a part of QS ranking, right, or it has to be a part of National Institution Ranking Framework, or NIRF ranking. So if they are in QS 2020 ranking, QS 2019 ranking, or NIRF ranking, only those institutions can be considered for being recognized as institution of eminence. Otherwise they cannot be. So QS 2020, QS 2019, and NIRF, these are the three categories of institutions. If they are ranked in this, or they're appearing in this, only then can they be recognized as institution of eminence. Then Great Green Wall Initiative. Now, this initiative is an African-led initiative and was started in 2007. Recently, it has received some funding of 14 billion US dollars for completing, or you can say completion of this initiative. So, when was this funding done? Recently, if you remember, we had talked about One Planet Summit, right? So, in the One Planet Summit, this funding was approved. So who has approved? World Bank has given 5 billion US dollars, African Development Bank has given 6.5 billion US dollars, and Government of France has given 14 billion US dollars, overall accounting to 14 billion US dollars, right? Now, what is the aim of this initiative? Now, Green Wall Initiative is for transforming the lives of about 100 million Africans. How are they going to do that? By setting up about 15-kilometer wide and 8,000 kilometers long mosaic of trees, vegetation, grasses, plants. That is what they are going to do. That is, all the degraded land is there. All of that, about 100 million of degraded land, that will be made into or you can say restored as an agricultural land, or you can say fertile land. So all the degraded land is going to be converted to fertile via this initiative, and that is why it is gaining a huge support, because we are supporting the green initiative. Then support Startup India International Summit by the name Prarambh was launched recently. So it was organized by Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, or DPIIT, and Ministry of Commerce. Both of them have together launched this. Now, this year it is the 5th anniversary of Startup India Initiative, and at this time we are organizing this summit called Prarambh. And this summit is, you can say, it is the largest startup conclave which is being organized since the launch of Startup Initiative. Before that, or after that, even no such grand initiative has been done. Now, in this summit, there are going to be about 25 countries which are going to be participating. There are approximately 200 global leaders which are going to participate in this event, right? Then CollabCAD software. Now, it has been launched by National Informatics Center of CBSE. And what is the you can say purpose of this CollabCAD software, or why has it been launched? It is for providing engineering solutions for students and Faculty of Engineering graphics curriculum. Both of these things will be there. That is, it is going to provide the students to create and modify the digital designs that are present as of now. So it is something very close to Atal Tinkering Labs, which we just had discussed about a few days back when we were talking about 100 Atal Tinkering Labs being taken over by ISRO for the same purpose. So now CollabCAD CAD software is also something like Atal Tinkering Lab, which opens up the minds of students for you can say wider arena, right? Now this software runs on Linux and OS platform, and just like Tinker from Home campaign was launched by Atal Tinkering Lab initiative, this was the campaign which was launched to ensure that children have access to online resources, right? And similarly, this CollabCAD is for widening up the and opening their minds to modify and create digital designs for the purpose, right? Then we have Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana 3.0. Now, third phase of Kaushal Vikas Yojana has been launched, and was launched by Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Now, what are they going to do in the third version? 729 Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendras will be established, and more than 200 ITIs will be rolled. And it is going to train about 1 lakh candidates for 1 year. Investment is going to be about 950 crore of rupees. Now, apart from that, now when we are talking about phase 3, what was there in phase 1 and phase 2? So phase 1 was launched by National Skill Development Mission. It was launched as National Skill Development Mission 2010, right? That was the first Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, and it had National Skill Development Coordination Board and Corporation and Skill Development Council. All of these were the part of it. Then in the second phase, it was launched in 2015, and its focus was about short-term training, not long 1 year long training. It was short-term training for all the college dropouts or unemployed or candidates who are school students as of now. So short-term or small skill development and regulation was going to be there in this. And now in the third one, they are going to give year-long training, and it is going to be given on a large area comparatively, right? Then we have a few one-liners. One being Ministry of Tribal Affairs has won Scotch Challenger Award for e-governance recently. So this can be asked from you in the factor that who has been awarded for the Scotch Award recently on e-governance. So this can be a direct question that can be asked, and a direct answer is going to be there for this event, right? Then next one which we have is Indonesia recently saw 6.2 magnitude earthquake on Sulawesi Island. So here it can be asked to you, that is, where is Sulawesi Island, right? This can be a possible question. Then Belarusian coach Nikoli Sendrev has been appointed as a middle and long distance coach of Indian athletics team. So we have a new coach in Indian athletics team. That is also very, very important. So from which country is he? He is a Belarusian, and his age is 72 years. Now, for the term he has been appointed as of now, during that term, the Tokyo Olympics are also going to be there, right? So that making it one of him into a limelight of handling the Tokyo Olympics for Tokyo Olympics athletics team of India as well, right? So with this, we'll be winding up the segment. Thank you so much. It has been wonderful interacting with all of you. I'll see you in the next video with more news events and more things to discuss. Until then, goodbye. Take care. Have a wonderful day ahead, and good luck with your preparations, all of you.